¿Cómo nos encontramos día viernes a la tarde? ¿Cómo están las neuronas para una situación como esta? ¿Cómo viene ese estado de salud mental después de una semana ajetreada? Vamos a ver si podemos mover un poquito esas neuronas porque este es un verdadero desafío. ¿Cómo está planteado esta reunión? Tenemos un desafío importante, ¿por qué? Son más o menos unas 15 personas las que vamos a escuchar en menos de 2 horas, ¿no es cierto? Entonces, vamos a tener que hacer un esfuerzo importante de atención, de concentración. Por favor, cuando escuchen a Oren Gershtein, que va a estar hablando en primer lugar, tomen nota de las preguntas. Tomen nota porque es el único caso donde va a haber preguntas y respuestas cuando haya terminado su alocución. Por el otro lado, tenemos una novedad. Camila Petinat, que es la última disertante, se quedó en la niebla esta mañana en Buenos Aires, así que a ella la vamos a escuchar por, digamos, vía virtual. Vamos a tener aquí una presentación por video. Yo quería pedirles, si por favor, por unos segundos, pueden cerrar los ojos. No es clase de yoga. Si por favor pueden, anímense, cerramos los ojos muy pocos segundos. ¿Tienen todos los ojos cerrados? Bueno, en este momento lo que les voy a pedir, que con la mano derecha ustedes señalen a dónde piensa que está el norte geográfico en este lugar. ¿Ya están todos? ¿Está faltando alguien que tenga dudas? ¿Ya estamos? Le voy a pedir ahora que mantengan la mano levantada, pero que abran los ojos. Qué sorpresa, ¿no? Hay abundante interpretación. Es decir, que pareciera que hay tantos nortes como personas, ¿no es cierto? Entonces, vamos a hacer un segundo intento. Pero previo a eso, les voy a pedir, por favor, que conversen con el que está al lado, con su persona, la mesa, lo que fuera, y le pregunten, ¿para dónde piensa que está el norte? No, conversenlo. Se nos acabó el tiempo para ponernos de acuerdo. Por favor, de nuevo los ojos cerrados. De nuevo los ojos cerrados. Por favor, ahora señalen hacia el norte nuevamente. Bueno, señores, abran los ojos, por favor. Levanten, no, mantengan levantada la mano, no, por favor. Me parece que hemos avanzado enormemente en el grado de orientación, ¿no es cierto? Esto es simplemente una analogía de lo que esperamos que pase en este lugar en las próximas 2 horas. Aquí vamos a tener desde Alejandro Consigli, que es dueño de casa, que nos va a estar recibiendo, de Marcelo Olmedo, de Candy, de Oren y otros tantos que van a estar contando cuál es su perspectiva del norte para el agritech, ¿no es cierto? Simplemente para que tengamos este tipo de aportes que nos permitan ser más precisos. Claramente es más fácil señalar el norte que saber cuál es el futuro o el norte de la industria del campo. Entonces, en primer lugar, vamos a recibir a Alejandro.
Sí, yo no voy a indicar ningún norte, yo simplemente, como soy el rector de la universidad, les doy la bienvenida a esta casa, para la cual es un gusto tenerlos esta tarde aquí y para la cual siempre va a ser un gusto recibirlos, porque la innovación, la creatividad, la vinculación con la realidad social y empresarial es algo que está en el ADN de esta institución. Y esto necesariamente tiene que ser breve, todo tiene que ser muy compacto, de manera que es lo único que quiero dejarles, que la Universidad Blas Pascal está comprometida, interesada en este tipo de actitudes y de interrelaciones y de acuerdos. y que necesitamos los aportes de la realidad, de las empresas, para que nos ayuden a hacer más, a poner todavía más los pies en la tierra en nuestras investigaciones, enseñanzas y desarrollos. Bienvenidos, gracias y que sea una buena tarde.
Marcelo Olmedo.
Vamos rápido también. También darles la bienvenida en nombre de UBITEC, la entidad organizadora, y compartir dos palabras de los por qué organizamos o por qué nació Start Me Up. Y hay dos ideas básicas. La primera tiene que ver con el concepto. UBITEC es una fundación que fue creada, se desarrolló y tiene como objetivo central esto de impulsar la innovación y los emprendimientos. Estamos convencidos de que el desarrollo del país, el desarrollo de la provincia, el desarrollo de nuestras empresas tiene que ver con cuán exitosos seamos en esta materia, con lo cual todo lo que podamos hacer para impulsar innovación y emprendimiento es el foco del UBITEC. Esto como primera idea. Y la segunda idea tiene que ver con un poquito de la vida práctica, porque todos estamos de acuerdo que la innovación es fantástica, no hay nadie que no quiera ser innovativo, y lo más difícil de todo es bajarlo a tierra. Bajar a tierra la innovación es un problema para las empresas, un problema para los innovadores, y nos parece que en esto hay como dos tareas claves. Una tiene que ver con tener herramientas eficientes, y otro con la actitud emprendedora. Con lo cual, creo que estamos buscando con Start Me Up esto de tener una herramienta eficiente de vinculación y que nos permita vincularnos. Yo creo que, ya dijo Germán, la temática, el formato, los relatores, nos va a dar una herramienta eficiente. Y yo espero que todos los que estamos acá, somos más de 200, recuperemos, volvamos a tener ese espíritu emprendedor, ese espíritu de hacer cosas nuevas, que creo que es lo que va a permitir que en Córdoba, en nuestro país, volvamos a tener muchos más emprendimientos productivos, que ojalá podamos hacer nacer, crecer y que se desarrollen un montón de startups, con lo cual estamos encantados con la respuesta de todos ustedes y agradecerles porque hayan venido. Y para terminar, agradecimientos. Agradecimientos a varios que han hecho posible que esto ocurra, los relatores que han dejado tiempo para venir acá, algunos que se han venido de un poquito lejos, Oren, muchas gracias. Pero todos han puesto su tiempo para venir. El gobierno de la provincia, de verdad que es una nueva muestra del apoyo que tiene a la innovación y el emprendimiento. Muchas gracias. La Cámara de Comercio Exterior de Córdoba y la Bolsa de Cereales, entidades gremiales que se animan a invertir en nuevos caminos para que sus socios empiecen a descubrir nuevas oportunidades. Muchísimas gracias por la confianza. Es la posibilidad de que esto ocurra gracias al apoyo de estas dos entidades. Universidad Blas Pascal, gracias Alejandro por todo el soporte. Y por último, CITES, Sancor Seguros, de verdad, una compañía que permanentemente ha apoyado a UBITEC, pero no solo con el tiempo de un asesor, que es muy importante para ustedes, sino que de verdad lo que están haciendo en Sunchales es un ejemplo para todos los que estamos en Argentina de animarse a erradicar emprendimientos tecnológicos. Así que muchísimas gracias a todos y bueno, arranquemos.
Candelaria, por favor. Se resiste, Candy, una verdadera artífice de este esfuerzo, así que...
Bueno, el micrófono no es lo mío. Bueno, soy Candy, soy una de las personas que los hartó a mensajes, mails, los convocó acá junto con el equipo de la UBITEC, de la CASEC, de la Bolsa, de la UVP, CITES, y nos acompañaron también del gobierno, así que gracias. Y yo lo único que les quiero transmitir muy breve es qué es Start Me Up y contarles que llegó para quedarse. Básicamente Start Me Up es una herramienta que desde la UBITEC la vemos como metodología de innovación y lo que buscamos, para que quede bien claro, es conectar a emprendedores, startups, ideas con empresarios, fondos de inversión, incubadoras, aceleradoras, inversores y sector científico. La premisa detrás de esto es que el enlace entre esos tres sectores es fundamental para la generación de nuevas oportunidades de negocios y productos y servicios que satisfagan necesidades y que tengan la posibilidad de escalar globalmente a través del uso de tecnologías disruptivas. Y creemos que este mundo puede tener mucho impacto en el sector productivo e industrial de nuestro país, con lo cual queremos apoyarlo. Como último mensaje, les quiero transmitir que Start Me Up hoy se viste de agrotech, pero pretendemos hacer muchas ediciones repitiendo este formato trimestralmente y luego continuando con otras industrias tipo e-health, inteligencia artificial, fintech y así, de manera tal de generar la vinculación que creemos que es necesaria. Bueno, muchas gracias y le doy la palabra a nuestro flamante orador Oren Gershtein, que viene de Israel. Él es CEO de Ideality Roads y bueno, nos va a contar un poco cómo ve él el mundo de los emprendimientos tecnológicos y del agrotech en Israel. Muchas gracias, Oren.
Si alguna persona no retiró auriculares, la conferencia es en inglés, están disponibles afuera.
I will try to take this upcoming half an hour to inspire you and to encourage you to try. Just try. A lot of things. I will talk about all of them, but to try. And do not be afraid when things will not go as you plan. Because failure is part of this whole journey of innovation. Before starting, we need to bear that in mind. When you're using energy and raw material, we have less of them. When we were using knowledge, we have more of that. And it's all about knowledge economy. I'm going to take this time to share with you a different aspect and to enlighten what knowledge economy is for a nation and to talk about a place in an industry that some say and consider to be a miracle. The story of the state of Israel, a tiny country that's changed its face, that an industry succeed to change the face of the nation. It's a tiny, tiny place that started just lately. Mid-80s, this is the starting point. Everything that you're going to see in these all figures and examples and success stories was not exist 100 years ago and was not exist 50 years ago. And practically, this is what we had 25 years ago. A nation that based its economy on agricultural and traditional industry. And today, this is the way the countries look like. And we did not wait for 25 years to make it happen. It happened a lot faster. The cycles are by far a lot faster than 25 years. But this is the result. More than 300 foreign R&D located in the state of Israel. All the big players around the world. Israel considered to be the second Silicon Valley of the world. Israel is managing the largest amount of money in venture capital industry after the States. Israel is just third after the States and China, with number of companies listed on the NASDAQ. A lot of foreign R&D centers and a huge list of success stories. And this is just a partial list of those success stories. And success stories is exit, knowledge economy. You're taking a piece of knowledge, package that into a company, developing the company, and you're selling the company. That's the entire idea. And I'm emphasizing only those ones who are $250 million, just to show you that there is several groups, several sizes, several types of exit. Taking knowledge, package that knowledge, developing that knowledge, disruptive, risky, game changers, and selling that. Google purchasing Waze, social navigating device, in $1.1 million in cash. That contributes to the state's more than $250 million in direct taxes and make a lot of people rich, which enable those people to take those resources and to reinvest them in the high-tech community, in another opportunities. And this is a cycle that got its own internal forces. In 2015, more than $9 billion in exits. Again, same idea, packaging, taking knowledge, packing that and sell that. An important element in these all ecosystems are universities. So universities in Israel succeeded to generate, above government support, this is additional to the government support, more than $675 million by commercializing the IP. So we've got several players. We've got the universities, we've got the private sector, we've got the public sector, which we will talk about, that enabled them to generate more than almost $250 million. It's a tiny, tiny place. It's a tiny country for those of you who don't know. It's 1/8 of the size of Cordova, 1/5 of the size of Santa Fe, 21,000 square kilometers. This is the entire story. A bit more than 8 million people. Tiny, tiny place. So in order to deal with the disadvantage of being a tiny place, we're located in an environment which we cannot trade with our neighbors, and leave politics aside, we just can't. Israeli company developed strategy. And that strategy related to the execution of going to be globally from day one. Israeli companies do not born to be local. They are being created as a global one with an orientation to go to international market and not just local one. And one of the ways to do so is the ability to use strategy which related to IP, intellectual property. The understanding that in the current age, the current gold is knowledge, and knowledge should be protected. This is the only way to create competitive advantage in international markets. Intellectual property and the understanding and the importance of having the resources and the knowledge to invest in that. This is the structure of the ecosystem. We don't have time to analyze it all, but we will say two things about the ecosystem. It's got its own ingredients, each one of them related to the other. They are feeding one another. It's a very dynamic structure. It's changing all the time. But the ecosystem needs to have a critical mass. The ecosystem cannot play in small figures. A lot of companies, a lot of ideas, a lot of investors, a lot of everything. Critical mass. And the second thing is once the ecosystem is being started, you cannot shut it down. And if you will do so, it will be either impossible or very expensive to restart it. Critical mass and continuity. And this is the cycle, and it's very simple. The state of Israel raining grants, R&D grants all the time, collected its benefits through exit taxes, and by that supporting the continuity of the ecosystem. The state of Israel got more than 40 programs to support risky and direct R&D activities. And that is being done in good years and bad years. And the state of Israel continued to do so in years of crisis and in years of growth, like the internet bubble in 2000 and the financial crisis in the state in 2008. Israel leading by far all OECD countries with an index called civil R&D as a percentage of the GDP. Let me translate that index into a very simple word. This is working capital. Working capital for the high-tech industry. This is salaries, this is raw material, this is machineries, this is consulting, this is engineering, this is manufacturing in small scales. In 2014, it's crossed the $13 billion. of money that was enabled that activity to happen. And government participation out of that, less than 3%. About 85% of that is the private sector. 85% of the expenditures is private sector. And you will be amazed to know that half of it, it's not even Israeli money. It's foreign money or foreign fund that bringing their resources to utilize and to expenditures those funds in the state of Israel, in developing disruptive technologies and new technologies. And large part of that, or the other half, is the Israeli private sector. So for the private sector, it is highly, or I would highly advise and encourage you to try and to play part in this whole ecosystem. Education. We cannot ignore from the education in the state of Israel our universities. Beside every university, there is a TTO, Technology Transfer Office, that's responsible for the commercialization of the IP. And they are doing great, like CONICET in Argentina. Researchers in Israel are highly incentivized to commercialize their IP because there will be benefits from that personally, and the university will benefit from that, and their lab will be benefit. Usually 1/3 each, or 40-40, 20. 20 to the lab, 40% to the researcher personally, and 40% for the university. And if you want to do the calculation, about 675 million divided by 40%, it's quite a lot. If you are a researcher, personally, you can benefit from that quite a lot. And then 20% going directly to your lab. And you don't need to go and beg for grants anymore, because there is passive income of cash that's flowing all the time. And that could be a lot of money. Cherry tomatoes. I would assume that you are enjoying them in your salad, so just know that every time that you are eating a cherry tomatoes, you are paying royalties for the Hebrew University in Israel. Every seed of every cherry tomato that's selling around the world paying royalties to the Hebrew University in the state of Israel. And that is the idea. And that could be done very easily. We cannot ignore the venture capital industry or private sector industry. So Israel is managing the second amount of money outside the US in venture capital activity. And there is a lot of success stories and a lot of gains. But I will just mention the dark green is the amount of exits supported by private investors. The light one is venture capital. So there is a combination of venture capital that is enjoying great revenues, but at the same time, private sector, which are not foreign or local venture capital players, are gaining a lot of revenues from that activities. And this is hundreds of deals every year. Hundreds of deals every year. Entrepreneurship culture. This is part of what we are doing here today, to inspire you, to share with you the experience, so you will take those stories and you will try them and you will share them with your friends and with others. In Israel, entrepreneurship is considered to be a very respectable status. Entrepreneurship is learning in universities. Entrepreneurship is learning in high school. And a major element in that, referring to the word failure. To fail in Israel, do not consider to be a problem. If you did not fail at least once, you are not considered to be an interesting, experienced person. So if you don't have at least one red failures in your CV, either you have other luck has played for you, or you did not try hard enough, or you did not take enough risk. And this industry is looking for people who's got the vision and the capability to manage very disruptive ventures which The uncertainty is their oxygen. This is the name of the game. Either you know how to use this oxygen, which called uncertainty. You get up in the morning and you are dealing with things which are changing all the time, technology, market, and ideas. It's amazingly interesting, but it's demanding. I want to take you to one of those 40 programs that I've mentioned managed by the State of Israel called the Tech Incubator Program. And the idea of that is quite strange. The State of Israel is investing in this Tech Incubator Program only in ventures that are too risky for the private sector to invest. Now, does that make any sense? Not at all. Taxpayer money are being invested in venture which the private sector will not willing to invest. Well, this is the practice. This is the secret sauce. This is the mechanism that government reducing risk for those disruptive ventures and enable the private sector to take them forward and to grow with them. And in that way, enable to bring into a situation that from macroeconomic point of view, 85% of the expenditures are private sector. And half of them are foreign one, and all the foreign coming because they are identified a place where they can make a lot of money. The government is investing around $600,000 in each company. $600,000, not $25K, not $10,000. $750,000, $750,000 in each venture, disruptive technology that's coming either from a university or from other place that could be a game changer. If that is succeeding, then the private sector take all the gains. If that is failed, government take all the lose. That is the practice. 85% of the resources will come for that initiative from the public sector. And if you succeed, no free meal, pay back what you get, that's it. So that could be reinvest and enable the public sector to use that as a working capital. And that is the model. Government investing 85% on each one of those ventures, while the private sector, in time that the private sector investing only 15, the private sector can take up to 50% of the equity. And this difference, the 35% difference between investing money and having equity in shares is the success premium for the private sector. And that's one of the things that encourage the private sector to participate in that. And I can tell you today that in order to participate in a tender like that, if that will take place in 1993, there were only Israeli players. Today, Johnson & Johnson, Takeda, the multinational companies are coming and competing on those tenders because they know that this is the heart of innovation and the one that can creating them the competitive advantage on their competitors all around the world. And if to measure if that program succeeds or not, well, the State of Israel invested in the last 20 years, 25 years, around $600 million, about $50 million annually. The linear line, the blue one. And the red one is the accumulated amount of money invested by foreign investors in those ventures, crossed the $4.2 billion. If the State of Israel was a venture capital, they would have done by far a lot better than any venture capital in the Silicon Valley today. 7x, 8x, $4.2 billion. Is that could be duplicated or is that related only to Israel? Well, my short answer is that, of course, that could be implemented. Duplicated is a bit hard, but implementation can be done. In the last 3 years, I'm working with the New Zealand government. New Zealand succeeded to implement a similar program, even better than the of a Tech Incubator program, basis on the same principle. Government taking the risk, reducing risk for the private sector, and enable the private sector to take that forward. The other example is Argentina. one of the biggest challenges from national point of view is to gap one topic: management capabilities, or lack of management capabilities. This is a unique knowledge. This is a very, very unique knowledge. And how can you gap it? So in the province of Santa Fe, in Sunchales, there is a group called CITES that in the last year succeeded to build all the necessary capabilities as if they were born as an Israeli tech incubator, acting in a very demanding environment and very competitive environment, equipped with all of the best practices and the challenges of extracting complicated IP and building company to be international companies or to be globally from day one. And when they do have a lack of knowledge, for example, in IP, intellectual property, which we remember this is the practice of the gold of the current age. Then the CEO of CITES taking a plane, flying to Israel, find the best IP lawyers, and bring them to Argentina, and playing the same mechanism. As simple as it is, this is the only way to succeed and to create competitive advantage. Summarize that point, I will say two things. First of all, the creation of the ecosystem is not spontaneous. This is government responsibility. This is the responsibility of the public sector to understand the challenge and to take that forward. And the second one is that the continuity of the ecosystem is not automatic. Where is that finding Argentina? Well, Argentina, you will be amazed to know, responsible for 10% of the innovation in crops innovation all around the world. 10%. Livestock, the same thing, almost 10%. But when that comes to create a competitive advantage, to utilize this knowledge all around the world, Argentina is down the scale. I will just give you an example. You're building the best football team you can ever create, but you let them play only in Cordova. And no one around the world knows about that. How can you succeed? How can they succeed? A few words about success stories. So just to give you a taste of how does it look like in the world of agri-tech. Well, first thing, it is stated by the UN that in 2013 we'll have only 60% of the necessary amount of water for the entire civilization. An Israeli company succeeded to manufacture a system that dealing with irrigation, 25 more yield and 35 less water, and this company is selling in 6 continents. And talking about building a global company, 30% global market share, not local, not in the States, not in Europe, global market share. This is the practice. We are under threat of losing specific species that will damage our ability to create and to manufacture food. It's been stated by the UN that we are about to create a damage of between $233 to $577 billion in lack of food. This is the damage. This is not the demand. This is just the damage due to the fact that we are about to lose some species. An Israeli company developed a solution which is 100% organic, chemical-free, and those are kind of breeding insects that can deal with that challenge. selling in 3 continents. Not locally, not in Israel, not in Europe, 3 continents. Again, creating companies that have been born to be globally from day one. Last but not least, humanity is going to be demanded about twice as much as food as we are demanding today, not in 300 years, in 2015. Where is that demand is going to come from? Another example, an Israeli company that dealing with the dairy equipment succeeded to manufacture smart equipment that enable to have 65 more yield in the cows industries, and just in the Americans, selling in a very long list of countries. I will tell you a few things that I encourage you to take out of this discussion. The first one, allowed you to be inspired, allowed yourself to think big, and to utilize a blue sky, or to try and to think in a blue sky strategy, which is ignore all the small problems that you've got. Dream on big things and they will happen. The second thing is be generous. Be generous in the sense of enable other people that working with you benefits from those economical results. You have saw hundreds of millions of dollars. In Israel, in every exit that I will show you, all the workers in the company enjoy from that through employee stock option plan and revenue sharing with the entire workers from the first one to the last one. Work with better people than yourself and work with young people. They are the only one that will be either brave enough or stupid enough to make big steps. Last but not least, do not listen to skeptic people. It will not work. Physics going the other way around. The investors do not believe in the business model. If you truly believe in that, go with that and do not listen to skeptic people. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a great, great pleasure.